The problem is that you're leaving. This is a lie by omission. He's leaving out super key details in order to make this look way more defensible than it is. I wonder if. Holy fuck. The Georgia fake elector scheme. What does legal and political history tell us about these charges? Ooh, wait, hold on. I'm gonna turn the lounge music off just because I might make a video out of this. Okay. 5 key takeaways.
They're totally gonna go over the electors here. They're gonna bring up like Al Gore.
1960. Oh, yeah. 5 of the 19 defendants indicted by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis are alleged to have been involved in a so-called fake electors scheme. There is no question that Trump had actually prevailed. Had Trump actually prevailed in his legal challenge, that he would have been entitled to Georgia's 16 electoral votes. In my opinion, this is an injustice. I don't know if he means the indictment or if he means that Donald Trump would have prevailed. My guess is, since it's the Heritage Foundation, it's probably that the indictment is. Okay. 5 of the 19 defendants indicted by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis are alleged to have been involved in a so-called fake elector scheme in which alternate electors pledged to support Donald Trump and cast ballots on December 14, 2020, the date on which electors across the country had to show up before their representative state capitals to cast their ballots, in 6 states, including Georgia, in which Joe Biden had been declared the winner. But rather than being fake electors per Willis, these 5 considered themselves to be contingent electors. They thought they were casting their ballot for Donald Trump to preserve the effectiveness of such a vote should Trump prevail in his legal challenges to the conduct of the election. Among the 5, Kenneth Chesebro, an appellate lawyer who worked for the Trump campaign and who is called co-conspirator 5 in the federal indictment returned by the special counsel Jack Smith involving the 2020 presidential election. He's credited with devising the scheme. His trial, along with Sidney Powell's, is currently scheduled to commence on October 23rd in Fulton County Superior Court before Judge Scott McAfee. The other 4, which, by the way, they pled guilty. I don't know if you're aware of that. The other 4 who are alleged to have followed Chesebro's advice and executed that scheme in Georgia are a lawyer in Atlanta representing the Trump campaign, Ray Smith. Never heard of him in my life. I don't even think that's true. And the 16 electors who cast ballots that day for Trump: David Schaefer, Kathleen Lotham, and Georgia State Senator Sean Still. Of the remaining fake electors, 12 were granted immunity by Willis in return for their cooperation. And 1 remains under investigation by the special prosecutor after Willis's office was disqualified from continuing to investigate him after it came to light that she had hosted a fundraising event for Jones' Democratic opponent in the lieutenant governor's race. So what was Chesebro's advice, and how strong is the case against these 5 defendants? In 3 memoranda dated November 18th, December 6th, and December 9th, addressed to the former judge and campaign attorney for Donald Trump in Wisconsin, Chesebro opined that based on his analysis of the law and historical precedent, the real deadline for finding by either state courts or state legislator as to who the true winner was in that particular state was not the date on which electors convened in their respective states to cast their ballot and submit them to Congress, but was rather January 6th, 2021, the date that Congress was set to meet in order to count the electoral votes that had been submitted to it and determine their validity. On that date, which was set by federal statute, the 12th Amendment provides the President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House, open all certificates and the votes shall be counted. This view, he noted in the first memoranda, was supported by Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the dissenting opinion in Bush v. Gore, and was noted by liberal constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe in an article he wrote about the immediate aftermath of the hotly contested 2000 presidential election, pitting Governor George Bush against then Vice President Al Gore. In states in which election contests were still pending, Chesebro recommended electors pledge to the Trump-Pence ticket should show up to cast their ballot on the same day in the same manner as those electors pledged to the Biden-Harris ticket, while noting that it might seem odd the electors pledged to Trump and Pence ticket do this if on that date the Trump-Pence ticket is behind in the vote count and no certificate of the election had been issued. He continued that a reasonable course of action, because it is highly uncertain that Congress could validly count electoral votes cast later than this date. He cited what happened in 1960 in Hawaii, discussed below, as precedent. And so far, this is actually pretty well. It's a pretty good summary. In his second memorandum, Chesbrough acknowledged that this was a bold, controversial strategy, which would focus public attention on the evidence of the electoral abuses by the Democrat, and would buy Trump campaign more time to win litigation that would deprive Biden of the electoral votes and add them to Trump's column. He noted, though, that Van Jones and Larry Lesvig, two noted liberal scholars who thought the final result in Pennsylvania might not be known by December 14th, had just penned an op-ed in CNN urging the Biden-Harris electors in Pennsylvania to do exactly what Chesbrough was suggesting the Trump-Pence electors do in the 6 states where Trump was contesting the election results. He won Pennsylvania, though. Why would it? What? Before. Okay, sorry. He's saying before the election results for Pennsylvania were announced, they were asking Biden-Harris to submit election or alternate electors anyway. Which, to be fair, if the election hadn't been called by December 14th, that is what would happen. They would probably just submit both certificates. So that makes sense. In his third memorandum, but also to be clear, whatever Chesbrough has been, I'm pretty sure the third memo was the one where he actually started going more towards the John Eastman side. But towards the beginning, Chesbrough more or less had a good idea. Submitting alternate electors, while I don't think it would have been appropriate because I think all of the election challenges from the Trump campaign were complete and utter bullshit. Had the litigation been done in good faith and had there been an actual shot that the election would have been called for Donald Trump's favor, I'm fully in support of them submitting alternative electors because that's laid out in the Electoral Count Act. In his third memorandum...
I'm actually about to read the memos.
Yeah, the memo...
From my research paper.
Chesborough's first memos are more or less just an explanation of how alternative electors could be submitted. The Eastman memo is when we start diverging, and it's like, okay, even if we don't win the litigation, if there just is pending litigation, then we can ask the vice president to either put a hold on the certification of the election past January 6th, or we can just have Mike Pence choose Trump's electors anyway, because he's the president of the Senate, and he can do whatever he wants. Which is...
Yeah.
You know... obviously insane.
Not true.
In his third memorandum, Chesbrough outlined what the Trump-Pence electors would have to do in each of the contested states in order to validly cast and transmit their votes, so the votes might be eligible to be counted if later recognized by a court as the valid ones that actually count in the presidential election. Because of the possibility, however slim, that Trump might have ultimately prevailed in his pending legal challenge in Arizona, and the ballots cast by the 16 electors pledged to support him might have been validated and counted, I believe that the term contingent electors is far more accurate than fake electors. No. No, because he is conveniently leaving out two things. The author of this is conveniently leaving out two things. One is that I think there were only 2 states that had the language specifically in the certificate that they signed, claiming to be the duly appointed electors, that the language that would mean that certificate would only be valid upon a legal challenge, popping up in favor of Donald Trump. And I think it was New Mexico and maybe PA. But it wasn't Arizona. Arizona did not have that language in it. That's the first part. The second part is, conveniently, we're only covering the one lawyer. There's another lawyer who was proposing the elector scheme. His name was John Eastman. and that's the one that they went with.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, like, if they just followed what Chesbrough laid out in the memoranda, where if the legal challenges came back, then their electors would be certified, there would be no anything. The problem is that you're leaving. This is a lie by omission. He leaving out super key details in order to make this look way more defensible than it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if. Holy fuck.
What?
I controlled F Eastman in the article. Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing? Damn. Dude.
That's really bad. You want to know why that's really bad too?
Yeah.
Chesbrough is
Why?
co-conspirator number 6 in Georgia. I think Eastman is co-conspirator number 2.
Damn.
So it's not like he's not involved in the indictment. And I mean, I don't know if this is like a formal like legal thing, but the people who are more relevant to the case, at least in the Georgia case, are higher up on the scale. So like Giuliani is co-conspirator number 1. I think Eastman's number 2 and Ellis is number 3.
Yeah.
Or Powell is number 3. I don't remember.
Sure. I have to look into Giuliani. I don't know anything about bro at all.
It seems like he was a good lawyer in New York after 9/11, I think, but then something happened. Something like snapped in him. I don't know what it was, and now he's insane.
Okay.
But yeah, like this is actually vile because it's well written. I can tell that the person who wrote this article both read the indictment and knows about the precedent set under the ECA, knows about the 1960 precedent, knows about the 2000 precedent. So the fact that this person would leave out one of the key members of this conspiracy to overturn the results of the election because that is the most indefensible part of the whole goddamn scheme is gross.
Yeah, dude.
There's no point in reading that. It's just lying. Jesus Christ. It's actually vile. And that's why the January 6th pill is so dooming to take, is because even that, like, for political commentary, the think tanks are supposed to be like your bastion, if you want like the steelman arguments for a Democrat, go to like Cato, if you want like the steelman arguments for conservatives, go to Heritage. Even the conservative think tanks are know that the Eastman shit is so fucked, especially since in the Georgia indictment they outline Donald Trump having meetings not with Chesbrough but with Eastman. The fact that they leave out one of the key co-conspirators while summarizing this article because they realize how fucking insane it is, and they realize that there's no justification for John Eastman doing and instructing Trump to do what they ended up trying to do, is like wildly dishonest. This is your steel man. This is your steel man, and the only accurate argument that you could give against the Eastman memo is that pretending that it didn't happen.
Yeah.